I'm Jimmy, and by the end of this video, I will have shown you how this game could become the next gaming masterpiece. This was made by a solo developer, and any developer worth their salt should be shook by the end of this list. Let's cover what he's made. There's 10 characters with 10 abilities that each have their own unique purposes, lines of sight, hit patterns, tons of effects. There's charges, jumps, traps, summons, shooting, knockbacks, transformations, and each ability has its own assigned hotkey. You can bring multiple controllable characters into the same match. There's the ability to modify your characters before each match with unique global abilities, individualized stats, items, and allies. There's functioning enemy AI with 10 different bosses, practice matches, a campaign mode, survival, online PvP with public and private lobbies, ranked play with ELO. You can even copy and paste invite links. There's an online player list, the ability to spectate matches, and every single thing that I have touched so far has worked pretty damn fine. But it's hidden underneath all of this. So now that I've shown everyone what this guy's done, it's now time to show everyone why the fuck I'm gaming analysis and not just some over-complaining game tester. Let's get into how to fix this and how to make it one of the greatest games of all time. I've thrown away countless scripts and recordings at this point, just trying to make sure that I word this just right. And I think I just need to say it from the heart. You're not an artist. And I think deep down, you know that too. If you just want to prove me wrong, there are countless tutorials and I'll leave the topics that would be relevant on the screen. But I beg of you not to take this path. I've seen this countless times throughout my career. If you think this art is acceptable, there's not really an artistic bone in your body. But who gives a shit? Han Solo can't use the Force, Batman has no superpowers, and even Superman, Earth's mightiest hero, has to rely on the Justice League. We're not meant to be able to do everything perfect, or even well, but this is what you are amazing at, and under no circumstance can you allow this to go to waste. Once we finish implementing the rest of the steps in this video, anybody would be able to see the potential in this game, and every single artist in the world would be a fool to not want to be your teammate on this. And when I say a teammate, I mean a teammate, not just another artist. Ask other people if they think the artist is absolutely incredible. And I'm talking 10 out of 10. Find someone who can be as passionate about this game as you've clearly been, and listen to everything they have to say and bring them anything that has to do with art. I'm saying, if you want a blood splatter and they tell you it should be fucking rainbow sparkles, you just say okay. If they tell you the layout sucks and you need to do it different, don't even ask why, just say how. You need people who are good at animation and people who are good at marketing. You can even allow multiple artists, but you need to rely on them for this. Together, when the whole system is polished, both of you can come back in and fine tweak and polish it and slap on post-processing and more game juice and get this thing fucking cranking. This game could be one of the greats, but only if you're willing to accept this. You need to find the Luke to your Han. You need to find the Batman to your Superman. This is by far the most difficult step, but the next ones are so much more simple. We only need to make it good enough so that everybody else can see what I see here. So let's roll up our sleeves and get to work. So, I promise the rest of this is going to be much easier. But we're still going to go pretty rapid fire because you've been out of an artist for a while now and we have a lot of small tweaks to make. So let's get into it. These don't go here. Just keep the titles here. We're going to put these over here and we're going to come back to them later. We're going right on over to the Create a Lobby menu. We don't want these tabs doing what they're doing. We want that function by clicking on the faces. In addition to the check mark here, we want an X. We are still going to use these tabs, but we're going to repurpose them into this. It's important not to overload people. So what we're going to do, people come in, they select their character. Then they select the ability, the additional characteristics, and the items, but each one's a tab so that the player can go back and change whatever they'd like about their character. And then, on the final screen of Ready Up, that's when the player gets to Ready Up or unready up and go change their mind. Do note all the different changes to the Ready Up menu, and just know that I Frankenstein the shit out of this in a rush job. But I think you get the point, right? Also, the additional characteristics shouldn't be hidden on this menu, and we'll get into them in the game area. First thing first, the timer goes up here, and this comes down here. We want a nice smooth camera zoom and a nice smooth pan to show whose turn it is, and provide some action. And set it up to zoom out a bit when the abilities go further than the camera. You should make sure the player's movements and abilities always fit within this area here, with them being the center point. We don't need an entire effects panel, and we don't need to see our additional characteristics. I think you can see where I'm going with this. Just have it be a drop-down scroll menu that when you click on it, it'll show you, but also just have a little indicator there when there's an effect in play. This should be the default setup for the abilities, with the more complicated versions being the one that players can choose. However, we also want to set up the quick abilities to look like this. All of the information a player would require to be able to use the spell. This is way too much text. Look at all the ways that we don't need all this. And I'm not even applying organization. And once we simplify and organize, we get something beautiful like this. Notice how I grouped things that were important to each other. The effects of the spell, their limit, and then we move on into the cooldowns. But it's nice, tight, and steady. And finally, can't read it? Throw it out, do it like this instead. The next steps I more or less want you to take after you find an artist, because we kind of want to use all this stuff as like a lure. But one thing you do need to do now would be to remove enough abilities from each character so that nobody ever has more than the 10 hotkeys. I know the archer, for instance, has 3 repulsive arrows. Just clip out the weakest one and the biggest one. Easy peasy. Once you do find an artist, you need to create a form of progression and direction for the player. Now what that means is that you need to lock down most of these characters so that they can become unlockable throughout the game, because people need to feel like there's a reason they're playing. Hide the bosses until later in the game when they actually go and try to fight the bosses. It helps create a sense of mystery. Players just choose wherever they want to go to in the campaign. You have to make it a literal progression. Provide them with an easier boss, and then they have to slowly climb their way up to an extremely difficult boss. And you know, maybe the Necromancer unlocks when you beat the Lich King, or maybe the Fisherman unlocks when you invite X amount of friends. And also when you don't need to show off all your abilities anymore, if you only got to choose to bring in a certain amount of abilities, giving players more competitiveness and uniqueness to their characters. But most of all, it increases playability because nobody has to search through their menus. And although I just keep getting further off of just making up my own dreams for this game, I think the best possible thing that I could ever love would just be being able to level up the characters too. If they only started with a couple abilities, it helps players more slowly learn the game and every little bit of it, all of the little effects, and then over time they would really just start to feel like your own little characters. But again, I wouldn't worry about any of this other kind of shit until you find an artist. Best of luck, bud.